It's time to talk cross stitch with the Stitching Owl. Welcome to anybody who is visiting me for the first time. I truly appreciate you checking me out. Welcome back to my returning friends and subscribers. Your time is precious, and I know that there are a lot of truly wonderful Flosstubers out there with totally awesome presentations. I am so thankful that you join me in my little corner of the internet each time. I would like to say big congratulations to Carolyn Zook of C Zook Stitch for reaching the milepost of 6,000 subscribers. We know Carolyn from her weekly uploads as well as tutorials, and she is also the co-host for the Magazine Monthly Cross Stitch Challenge Facebook group. Ooh, I said it right. She is a very, very busy professor, and we truly are so lucky that she values the stitching community so much that she gives so much of her time. Her videos are both uplifting and supportive and informative. In my Send a Smile program, I'd like to say thank you so much to Katie, the Peacock Stitcher, for the kind words that she said on a recent floss tube with regards to the card and ornament that she received from me. I am so glad that you enjoy your ornament and hope that it will bring you a smile many times. At the present time, I do have an ornament and card on the way to Britain. We just never know whether it's going to take days or weeks or more than a month for it to make that voyage. I'm hoping I will get news that it has arrived before our next video. This video is number 14 on February the 4th, 2024. I am particularly pleased that the ornament that is winging across the Atlantic is actually doing so because of a request to my email. You'll see it floating above my head right now, and I do encourage you to reach out to me because I am very happy to send a smile to you. I'm going to take a moment to actually report a reverse send a smile. I was in my studio and suddenly my husband and youngest were handing me a package, and I was slightly confused because I had not ordered anything this time. I usually know when I'm going to receive something, but it turned out that this was from one of my viewers. So I got this handmade card. Isn't it beautiful? And the message inside is that this is a token of friendship. That really touched my heart. Thank you so much. She included some counting pins. So this is the first card. Just going to hold it close. So this, it isn't coming out the true color. It actually happens to be a ruby red, and ruby is my birthstone. And then a beautiful little angel, and it's February, so a lovely heart. But she didn't stop there. What caused us all to gasp as I opened my package were the owls. Aren't they beautiful? I've never actually seen any counting pins like this, and I truly appreciate that you either located them or you made them yourself. So Colleen, you were not in any way obligated to send me anything. I love to send my smiles, but I will also say I truly do appreciate the care that you took in choosing this gift. It was perfect. Okay, so now we are going to have the last let's try that again. We're going to have the last roundup of January Bringo that is part of the Facebook's Magazine Monthly Cross Stitch Challenge group. I did attend the January Zoom and had a delightful time. Each month they do ordinarily have a theme and acrostic, and after speaking with Carolyn and Robin, I now feel comfortable taking part in the February acrostic. And of course, at this moment, I realize that I did not bring down the acrostic as I have it.
Emergency cross stitch fetcher about to be engaged. Where am I going and what am I grabbing?
Can you hand me my book from over there? It might actually be in here. Thank you.
Emergency cross stitch fetcher deactivated.
Oh, I do love my husband. His sense of humor makes me smile every day. So we received for the monthly challenge something like this. So here we've got the theme of In the Meadow. And we're going to find out later that I am starting something with a bunny in it because there are bunnies in the meadow. The acrostic is the word snowshoe, so we have to come up with something for each of these letters. Now, I confirmed with Robin that I could use the same project multiple times. She said, yes, you just have to add more stitches. And I was like, totally fine with that. And that if the S came up twice, I could still actually use the same prompt, but again, it would have to be more stitches. So when it came to my bunny project, I'm intending to both start and finish it this month. With the acrostic snowshoe, I'm sure you're not going to be surprised. S is for Sherova Creations. Sherova Creation is the designer of the stained glass owl, 350 stitches. N, nocturnal. Owls are nocturnal, another 350 stitches in my owl. O is for owl, another 350 stitches. W is for wings that all owls have, another 350 stitches. Then we have the S for Sherova Creations again. H for hoot, owls hoot. We have another O for owl, and we end with an E for Etsy because Sherova Creations is on Etsy. So I have 350 stitches marked for each of those letters. So that totals 2,800 stitches in the month of February. I'm starting here at 57,250, and the goal will be 60,050 by the end of the month. So thank you to my helper. I was able to inform you how I was doing my acrostic. Oh, just love that man. So let's pick up where we left off the last time. On January the 21st, we had just a few days left in the Bingo calendar because a bingo card has 25 squares. So I actually had already accomplished the January 21 prompt when we met. So let's continue with January the 22nd, where the prompt was something that is not to be framed. So you won't be surprised that I said an ornament is not to be framed. Now, earlier in the month, I had started a Waxing Moon Designs Winter Little owl, and I'd only put in the beginnings of this just enough for the first prompt so that I could save the rest of it for when this prompt came up. So I finished the stitching and I fully finished the ornament. Now on this one, you'll find that yes, I used beads for the hanger, but I didn't have a lot of beads around the outside because it just didn't seem to need it. But isn't he adorable? So he has been stitched on 32 count Stormy Night Lugana with 2 strands of DMC over 2 threads. And what you're seeing right here is the 2024 charm that I got from Amazon. When I told my mother that I got a bag of 100 of these, she was like, 100? She's concerned that I'm going to have so many left over, and I'm concerned I'm not going to have enough. So that was January the 22nd. On January the 23rd, the prompt was something with words. So I did a second make of an ornament that you saw in December. I changed up the coloring just a little bit because I try to make every ornament individual. So I used a free ornament with the word joy on it that is by Misty Pursel. She has her own Flosstube channel and lets us know what her newest creations are so that we can order her patterns from her website. Now this one was a freebie, and we will remember that Misty was also part of the crew that did the Jingle Ball. So I did this guy. Now what you're going to find is that one of the reasons that I was able to get these ornaments fully finished is that last Sunday, Sandi of Stitchin' with Sandi had another one of her Zoom meetings. And during the Zoom meetings, I do finishing. So I was actually able to finish 3 ornaments during her Zoom meeting. If you would like to attend, she gathers us on the 2nd and 4th Sunday of the month at 10 o'clock Pacific time, which is 1 o'clock where I live. I'm from London, Ontario, Canada. And if you watch one of her lovely videos, you will find that she's got her email attached and you can reach out to her and she will give you a permanent Zoom link to her Sunday Zooms. The next one is on Super Bowl Sunday. So I was really pleased with that. This one, I did put beads around the outside. I just intended these to be sitting flush with the ornament. And I was quite happy with that. So I've worked ahead on a Christmas ornament. This one was stitched with sulky thread, by the way, on Dirty Porcelain Linen by Roxy Flossco. Sulky thread is a 12-weight thread that you only need to use 1 thread, not 2, to have approximately the same coverage as 2 threads of DMC. It is a rounder thread and has a bit of dimension with it, but it does give lovely coverage on that 32. I'm not sure myself that it's quite the same coverage on 14 count Aida or 28 count of either linen or even weave, but that's just my opinion. And I do certainly know that some of my floss tubing friends are saying they are enjoying stitching with it on 36 count. January 24th, the prompt was to stitch something that had a bird in it. And well, we all know where the stitching owl went. I went to the owl. So my focus for the past 2 weeks, let me see. I'm just going to find my picture. So last time I was showing you that I wanted to get in the feathers of this first horn, because he's a great horned owl. and that I wanted to continue my work on just finishing so that this entire side here was stitched all the way. So there was some leaves down here that I also attended to. Now, one of the things that I found as I did this is that I went down into the owl's cheek and the feathers around his eyes. There is a lot of confetti stitching in this section. I am ever so grateful that I have Pattern Keeper now, because you actually can see a path when you have one stitch here and then you have to jump 10 squares and do another stitch there. It has really been amazingly helpful. So now let's see where I am. Here we are. You can see that I got almost all of this great horn in. There is a few confetti stitches left. The cheek is mostly there, and the feathers that go around the eye are coming along nicely. And then if I zoop you to the bottom, we have some really dark green around this lime green. So you can see that I've actually started taking out all of my gridding in that area because I've got a good chunk of it done. Isn't that a vibrant stitch? I'm excited absolutely every day. So my stitch count as of this morning was 48,469, which is 36.5%. And as I've said before, I'm stitching this with one strand of DMC floss, doing all the call for colors, and I'm doing it on 20 count charcoal Aida. Now, recently I was watching Jen the Caffeinated Stitcher on Flosstube. If you would like to stitch to some really nice long videos, she's your Flosstuber. She's so dedicated, she actually has 300 whips. So she spent one of her videos in January choosing half of those to include in her plans for the year. While she was talking, she was mentioning that she had a challenge with another Flosstuber, Ailarra. I'm not sure I said your name right. Ailarra? Yes, there, that's better. And I'll spell it up here so that you can find her on YouTube. They have a challenge going of 25,000 stitches in 25 weeks. So as she was chatting, I got thinking, I wonder if that's doable. And then I just sort of thought about how much I had done so far in the amount of weeks I had on the owl, and I determined that yes, I was going to reach out to Jen and say, I'm doing it too. So I started February 1st, and we're going to see if I can get 25,000 stitches into my owl before July 25th. I think I can do it. If not, we'll still have great progress on the owl that I'll still be able to show you each time. I'm just going to... Okay, and then that brings us to the last prompt for Bringo, which was to choose a designer that was not American. And I chose Au Fil de Nichoirs by Jardin Prive, who I believe is in France. So this particular project is a project that is part of a year-long sal by Colette the Highway Stitcher and Brenda the Handwork Maniac. Each October they get together at a retreat and they pick the next sal piece, and this was their one for this year. Now, If you don't know about Colette, the highway stitcher, or Brenda, the handwork maniac, they both have an amazing assortment of projects. And Colette is actually in the midst of full coverage for February and is doing short videos each day. Brenda is in her last year at a school, and so she's looking forward to retiring in June. When she puts up a video, it's full length and has so much stitching eye candy. Definitely check her out. Now, my Au Fait de Nichois, I am doing, of course, each of the 12 months of birdhouses as an ornament instead of making one picture. Now, in order to get dainty birdhouses, I'm doing this on a 28 count Panettone even weave from Roxy Floss Co., and I'm doing it with one strand of DMC over one thread. So my stitching is quite petite. Now, I'm going to admit that this particular one has not gotten far. I started on the February birdhouse, even though it was still the end of January. And this is how far I got. I got 2 flowers. I think that one's a daffodil. I'm not sure what this one is. I do have to tell you, we've had such strange weather here that we can still see our grass, and the daffodils are thinking it's time to wake up. I'm a little scared because I'm sure we've got more snow. And we've got the beginning of the post. Now, there's a pair of lovebirds at the top of this, so I'm really excited to get back to this project this week and put in some more stitches. So, in case you're not, well, in case you are curious, I did get a blackout, and I did actually manage to keep up. So the blackout was on January the 25th. I don't think that I managed to make my photo album within Facebook the way they expected. I'm still learning how to use Facebook, so I'm seriously expecting I'm not eligible for a prize, but that's not why I did it. I did it for the fun of being part of this group, and it was fun. Okay, so I would like to report that I did manage to complete my 2 trading cards for the challenge that Laura of Stitching by the Shore has made, and my husband very graciously took them to the post office 2 days ahead of the February 1st deadline. I know that it can take a little bit longer getting to Laura from here, Canada. I'm not going to show you the pictures. Yes, I remembered to take pictures this time until after she has revealed all of the stitching cards on her. She does a special floss tube that is just dedicated to these ATCs. The theme was winter, and I'm wondering, since the one in October was fall, whether we've got spring in our future. I would like to thank Laura personally for the time she's putting into this project. I am completely aware that by the time you are cataloging all of the mail that comes to you, even though it's so much fun to open these each time, but then you have to figure out the pairings, take care of anybody that has forgotten their return address envelope, which was me last month. I got it in there this time, Laura. And then she makes her floss tube, and then she sends everything out. So it is a definite time commitment by Laura, who is already doing weekly videos at Stitching by the Shore. So thank you, thank you. It has really been an enjoyable project for me, and I plan to continue to take part. I encourage everybody to see what they can do. They are 2.5 by 3.5 cards. Those are inches, not centimeters, for those of you in Canada or Europe. And you can take tiny portions out of almost any full-size picture and make it happen. I'm going to go on to one more big congratulations. Big congratulations to the Sable Stitchers. We know them as Roberta and Linny, and they have reached 8,000 subscribers. 8,000. That's quite a landmark. I am sure that you are all watching them already. They are wonderful stitchers and have a wide variety of styles. Linny is particularly good at her finishes, and she likes to experiment with different kinds of finishes. They also do some wool applique. I think we occasionally see some quilting. Roberta spends some time keeping a website alive that actually catalogs the different retreats that are going on, and she is happy to be alerted of a retreat that is not on the website yet. So they are busy, busy ladies, and definitely are such a lovely addition to the Flosstube neighborhood. Let's look at what else I was able to stitch and fully finish in the past 2 weeks. During Bringo, I started 4 new ornaments. You have already seen the owl and the joybird. Well, one of them that I started for the transportation prompt was a camper called Ho Ho Home, a pattern by Nancy Green of Pickle Barrel Designs. This was in the Just Cross Stitch Christmas Ornaments, and I believe it was the 2020 version. I keep these because I can keep going back and finding things that are so fun to stitch. And I also have a CD of other years that are in the back in the early 2000s. So I was stitching with sulky thread on 32 count Dirty Porcelain by Roxy Flosco again. I did take liberties with this pattern. I only stitched the center bit because I felt that if I did everything that was made available on this pattern, that it was going to be bigger than I personally wanted it on 32 count linen. So this is what I ended up with. So this was another one that I finished making while Zooming with Sandi. And I know that during that Zoom, I just made sure that the date was a little bit more even. Sandi was asking me what tutorial I had used to learn how to do this. And really, I didn't. Yes, I definitely do watch Katie Strachan ornamentations on every time she uploads. But how I'm doing around these is not something that is one of her techniques. So what I thought I would do a little later on, before we go to my moment for music, is show you a little bit of how I did this one, because it was really fun. Now we're going to find that what the ornament that I do my demonstration on is called Kitty's First Christmas, and it's by Chrissy Callahan of turtlebunny Designs. It's this one. So you can see that I've already got it laced. I have my hanger in place and I have my date already in place. And the only thing that I've done is I've attached the thread that I want to use so that I can demonstrate a couple of my little loops a little later. I actually didn't have Kitty's First Christmas done for the Zoom, so that one wasn't an option to finish, but I was called for supper and was running out of time, so I wouldn't have gotten to that one anyway. It is good for me to be able to finish 3 ornaments in an afternoon because beading is not a quick thing. Yesterday I did more finishing, And I finished another one of the ornaments. Oh my, I guess this means 5. From Bringo, I did a peacock ornament by Kathleen Berlew, and that was also from the Just Cross Stitch Christmas ornaments. It was done on dirty porcelain with sulky thread. I had purchased a fat quarter of this. Actually, no, I think it was a fat half. And so I've been able to use it many times for these these ornaments. It is Roxy Floss Co. and I got it at Jacob Palooza, which was sponsored by Evertote. Delightfully, both Carrie and Caroline were there for us to get to know. Now this time I didn't make an ornament, I made a stand-up. Initially I thought I would make an oval base, and I had it completely together, and wow, I did not like it. So I took it apart and I put a circular base on the bottom. I have filled this, so here we have my peacock and my charm, and it seems to have gone askew again. So he can just sit on the top of my piano. I haven't done a lot of these stand-ups. You have to put a lot of polyfill into these. It's amazing how much it takes. And next time I might not have quite as much space here, but I have a feeling that what I'm going to do is to come back and add either some buttons or some beads here beneath in this space so that it isn't just left white. But for today, this is what I have. The bottom is just red, and yes, that is hand stitched on. I used a blanket stitch and had no problem doing this. So there's my peacock. So I actually used that as a learning curve because my daughter is running out of wall space. She loves doing paint by numbers and has done so many. She's got her own art gallery. So I said, you know what, when you finish something, I will do something that doesn't require you to put it on the wall. So the last time we were together, we discovered that she had finished Kitten in a Cup that was designed by an Etsy designer called Cute Patterns by Maria. So I did a stand-up for her. Now she's working on 14 count Aida at this point. She's still fairly new, and here is her stand-up. She has a cat. It doesn't matter if the cat bats this one over. There is absolutely nothing breakable in this teacup. Now I just use a pink on the back front that was left over from one of my quilts, and that same pink on the bottom. So stand-ups are actually very easy to make, and again, you need to always make sure you've got lots of polyfill. I don't use lizard litter purely because of an allergy to nuts, so I don't want to be handling walnut shells. Now, just because we were just talking about my daughter, she had one more finish. I haven't fully finished it yet, but here is Lavender, also a pattern, Cute Patterns by Maria on Etsy. So I'm just going to move it in. I think she's doing a marvelous job. So I'm hoping to get to my local needlework shop this week to do a run. I've got a few needs, and she thinks she's ready to do a bigger project. So I would like to help her get all kitted up for that. I'm going to do one more massive congratulations. This one reaches out to Nichol Spohr. I'm sure we all know her. She started on YouTube with her paperwork. Her paper crafting is totally amazing, and she has kept that going, but she has added cross stitch, felt ornaments, as well as quilting to be an all-round crafter. This is her vocation. We are very, very fortunate that somebody who makes her living out of crafting shares so much of her time with us in her regular floss tubes as well as her stitch-alongs. She regularly hosts stitch-alongs so that we can all have weekly get-togethers with her. So I am so grateful that we have people like Nichol who are so dedicated to crafting that we get to learn every time she puts up a video. Okay, it is now time to talk about whips. Wow, 36 minutes in and I'm just getting to whips now. I am going to start with my prairie birds. So I had planned to have 3 more fully finished for you this week. Now the prairie birds are by the Prairie Schooler, and I am stitching these on, hang on, 32 count Murano Lugano by Pal Stitches Designs. I am using 2 strands of DMC, and I had decided that I was just going to use the called for threads because I wanted the birds to be the colors that that kind of bird were supposed to be. What I did was I started all 10 of these on New Year's Eve as part of the 12 by 12 New Year's Eve challenge, and I got stitches into all of them. So when I ran out of 520, and Michael's didn't have it because yes, my amazing husband did a run to Michael's for floss for me and came back with, but they didn't have these ones. I'm so sorry. There's nothing he could do about it. He even inquired about deliveries. So I got stuck. So I have the chickadees and the wrens fully finished, and then I've only got this one partially done, and right now I don't have any bird in for me to predict which kind of bird that is. I was so disappointed to get stuck that I just stopped on him. I didn't want to actually try and match up some other kind of floss when I knew I would be having the opportunity to go to my needle workshop. Now, just in case you're curious, yes, these are the 3 that are now fully finished from the last time. I used these to demonstrate my envelope backing the last time, and I do want to say thank you so much for so many responses like, oh yay, there's something I can try. So even from across the pond in England, I was getting responses. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm really pleased with those, and hopefully next week I'll have the dilemma of how to put 6 on that board. Now let's talk Under the Stars by Modern Folk Embroidery. I really, really wanted to get started on the big motif in the center. And I know I wasn't really fully finished the motif on the side, but I decided that I didn't care, that I was going to jump into that middle motif. Now I have to tell you that I am absolutely thrilled. I am still on my first spool of variegated yellow. It's sulky thread that I'm doing on Blue Moon 32 count Lugana. Now, it wasn't one of the petite spools, but it also wasn't one of their little cones either. So I'm getting quite far, and look at that center. It's going to be a giant star. This was so much fun to get in, and here is what it looks like. I've gotten better at pausing with my stitches. Last time was the first time I made a video that all 3 thumbnails actually had me with a stitch. It was terrific. I had a choice this time. Now I just want to take a moment to speak about Carmen of Cardamom Pins on Flosstube. She was somebody that was at Jacobpalooza, and she doesn't only stitch modern folk embroidery, but let's just say she truly loves to stitch modern folk embroidery. And she's been concerned that some of Jacob's original designs that are splendid are not getting as much attention as they should. He is well known now, and his newest releases become popular immediately. So Carmen has actually started a sleeper sal that is, I think she's going to start at the beginning of March, if I remember correctly. I'm going to suggest that you look up Cardamom Pins. There's a short video in January that explains what it is that she is wanting people to do. Now, if you happen to be stitching one of his yearly stitch-alongs and don't want to take on a second Jacob, she's fine with you doing one that's current as well. But if you would like to embrace some of his original designs, she's asking you to look on his website and to scroll farther down the list to find some that you may not have seen on Flosstube in the last year or two. My fun with Quakers continues. Shelia and EJ of the Sunshine Stitchers are hosting Bake Me a Quaker Sew-Along, and it is using Rosewood Manor's 1 Dozen Quakers. So it is this pattern. Now we have people just joining us now, and I'm so glad that I think the Granite Stitcher just purchased this and joined us on the recent Zoom. The first Friday of each month in the evening, Shelia and EJ host a Zoom for us to stitch together, and I do so enjoy that time. Now, my Friday during the day, I am in another city with my mother. By the time I get home, I am tired, so I never make it to the whole Zoom. I am the first one to sign off each time, but I sure enjoy the hour and a half with them. Now, I am not doing that as a full picture. Yes, you guessed it, I'm making ornaments again. And so each time I just choose one of these, and this time I chose this one because I could see tulips in here, and I thought, okay, we're all hoping spring will be around the corner. The groundhog in our area and many areas of the state said spring is coming. Now, I'm not sure that I believe this because we haven't really had winter yet. So I'm stitching this on dirty porcelain with Sulky, and this is the one that I did on Thursday and Friday. Now I have started a second one that matches it exactly, because I'm going to try this time making a reversible ornament where both sides actually have stitching on it, and trying a new technique for doing the beading on the edges. So there is a few beads that I'm going to put on here. What was stitched stamens I'm going to put on as beads, and then there will be beading around. And then if this goes according to plan and I have enough hours in the day, and that's always a question, I have thought of ways that I can play with this. So if we look at this, I can do just the center without these, just the tulips. I can do this, and then I can do the whole thing. So I could actually make 3 different styles of ornaments out of one Quaker pattern. And if I have time, I would like to try to do that. Okay, and my last whip is my Winter Cardinals by Instant Cross Stitch. I am very pleased with my progress. And let's see if I can find the picture here. Here it is. So my goal this time was to actually get to page 6, as well as to find more real estate on here that included both the top edge and the bottom edge. I haven't quite got side to side yet, but I do have top to bottom. So I was successful with this. I am stitching on a 32 count Lugana. It doesn't matter what Lugana or 16 count Aida, it is full coverage. And I am stitching with all the qualled 4 colors that are DMC with 2 threads. And here it is. So you can see that I almost have all of the snow, and I definitely have more of the ledge here. It goes all the way up and down. I think I can finish this in February. We do have an extra day this month. It is leap year. And I would love to be able to have a special start on the leap day. I'll chat about that the next floss tube. So I'm really, really pleased with this. I'd like to thank you so much for all of your lovely comments that are continuing to be made. I do so enjoy getting to know you better and having that sense of community. I'm wondering if we could do one more question. The last time, 2 times ago, I asked you about how you liked your floss ordered on patterns, and so many of you helped me and helped Instant Cross Stitch to understand what it is that the stitchers truly like. So I've got a different question for you to answer today, and I'm hoping you will comment with what your preference is. When you have a PDF chart and you're working off of the paper, so for some of you, you really do figure out a way to get these all into Pattern Keeper or Markup XP. But if you're working off paper, do you like it when the pattern goes completely to each of the borders with no overlap? Or do you prefer having a 2, 3, or 4 line gray area showing the overlap from the previous page so that you can get the transition to the new page a little bit more comfortably? So what I did, there was no overlap on this particular pattern, so I have been taping together my 6 pages, which makes a very big pattern. It works to tape it together. Is that what you like to do? Do you prefer an overlap? Thank you so much for letting me know what your thoughts are. And now for my next category, starts. I know you're thinking, wow, we've seen enough different things so far. Yep, you have, but I still started a few things. So Amy of Renewing Stitching. Now I've got to say, where did I put that stitch? Oh. Okay, found it. Okay, so Amy of Renewing Stitches and Kim, Contented Needleworker Kim, have joined together to stitch patterns from the Cottage Garden Sampling, the Songbirds Garden series. They're completely fine if you just find a bird. There's many birds available from Cottage Garden Sampling. So I jumped in with them. And what we have going now is the Do You Want to Stitch a Songbird, Sal? I started in on, let's put that right side up. Watch that be my thumbnail. Have Faith. So it's blue jays and bluebells. And I got started and was very excited. I can make good time on a stitch like this. And guess what? The first green above this bottom border was 520 of that color that I ran out of in my prairie birds. So instead of getting deeply into this and trying to decide on alternative coloring when I'm planning to make a trip to the local needlework store, I decided that I would just go light on my stitching and do a bit of the border. So this is the border. You can see this is the end curlicue and 2 of the patterns. Now this is not a quick repeating pattern that's only 2 or 3 lines long, so that means it takes a little bit of thinking to actually have this one work. And as you can see, I work 2 threads at the same time so that I am going across smoothly. So I am doing this. Hang on, let me see, what am I doing this on? 2 strands of DMC on 32 count prehistoric linen by Fox and Rabbit. So I'm expecting to have more to show you the next time we're together, but it is a start. There is more than 100 stitches in. Now, Sheri, the Colorado cross stitcher on Instagram and Flosstube, has announced her winter cross stitch camp. The theme is to stitch an animal. Pictures and Instagram should be tagged with hashtag winter cross stitch camp 2024 and also hashtag Colorado cross stitcher. Just the way Instagram is right now, if you don't tag her personally, she doesn't actually see the post, and she's asking that everybody please make sure that you are public, not private, because she also doesn't see them if they're private. So I have started Bunny and Flower, and it is a Stitchissimo publication. They are on Etsy. Now, I happen to like their name. Issimo, it's Italian for very, and is plugged onto many terms within the music world: pianissimo, fortissimo, staccatissimo. All of these things just mean very. So Stitchissimo means very stitchy. It's a great name. I am doing double duty here. It is my winter cross stitch camp piece, and it is also going to be a swap item. So I started this yesterday on Antique Atlantic Lugana 32 count. I wanted to get it far enough that you could see a bunny. He looks like he's a polite bunny. He's actually going to be leaning in to some flowers. Now, so far I have used all of the called for threads. You can see that he's in some grass here, but I'm not sure that the one color of flower is going to stand out against my aqua background. So I have a feeling I might be changing that color, but I don't think will matter if I change it to pink so that it stands out. So this is just a little stitch. It's something I can finish within the month of February because both the Colorado cross stitcher and my swap need it finished. And so with luck at all, I might even be able to get it fully finished before our next time together. And I started one more thing. When I go to see my mother this Friday, I would really like to take her a Valentine ornament. So I did start a freebie from the Tiny Modernist, Key to My Heart. Now you can see that this is probably charted in reds and golden colors. Well, I still use the Atlantic Lugana, so I changed it to pink. Now I just started this morning, so I just have he so far for heart. So this is going to be a priority to stitch and finish and fully finish hopefully by Friday. It only has like 3 colors in it, and so I think that while my floss tube is uploading, I know that I will be doing that stitch. I think that's it. Okay, I'd like to say thank you to the following people for mentions and shout outs to me, the Stitching Owl, over the last couple of weeks. A few of them just came in this morning at such a time I haven't even had a time to watch the videos. But thank you goes out to Crafting with Natalia, Untwist Your Stitches, Nerdy Stitcher, Renewing Stitches, and the Sun City Stitchers. I truly appreciate the support that you are giving my channel and love the sense of community that I feel when I hear you chatting about me. Okay, let's see if it's possible for me to help you to see how I do my beading. Now I just have a saucer. I don't have a tacky bill or bob yet. I don't know if I can tilt this a little bit. So this is a saucer of my grandmother's, and I treasure the different pieces of china that I have from her. My mom's mom lived with us. We had an extended family throughout my entire childhood, and so she was near and dear to me. I didn't need to have a babysitter because even if both my parents were out, she was available. And she was a qualified nurse if I happened to be sick.
Show them your ring.
And I have a special ring which doesn't happen to be on right now because I lost weight after it was sized.
Oh, oh, oh.
I know. My grandmother was the first one to have great faith that the relationship I had with this young man called Jeff would have longevity. And she loved baking for him. And when she realized that we were getting engaged, she gave him her engagement ring to give to me. It's a lovely green gold diamond ring. And it was a special moment because it really did show faith that I was choosing the right partner in life. And it's true. It's very true. So, yeah. My grandma was very, very special to me, just like, crisscross. There we go. Crisscross and his grandmother. When you live with these ladies, they become alternate mothers, and they know you in a way that other people can't. Okay, so what I've got here is my front and my back. They are separate, yes. This has simply been laced lightly. This has been laced, and I hold them together. Now, I do not actually pin or clip my front to my back while I am stitching. Oh, you can see my puppy over there. I actually just hold it by my hands. I find I can create the best control that way, and then there is no dents. Like the little clips are wonderful, clover clips, for holding things together without putting pin marks into things. But if you leave them on for any length of time, you actually can dent, and it can be hard to get those dents out, so I just use my hands. So I have put my thread through this end. And the first thing I'm going to do, you'll notice that I'm matching my thread. I'm going to be adding red beads with the occasional gold. And my back is red, so I'm using red thread. This is just Aurifil thread. I'm not using floss. This is a beading needle. The hardest thing about this whole process is threading the needle. Now I know that there are special needles that actually flex open and shut. I just find them too flexible when I'm working with something that has cardboard on it. They are wonderful for just using on material, but I need something a titch firmer for this situation. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm literally I'm just stitching the front to the back with a tiny stitch. And then I'm going to do it one more time. Now I'm not going to make the stitch so big that it comes wildly into the front, but I do want to anchor, and as always happens when you are doing a demonstration, something goes weird. Okay, so sometimes one of the things that you want to do is to have thread that is long enough that you don't have to constantly be rethreading that needle. Trust me, you don't want to have to do that. But when you have longer thread, you can have what I just had with it, which was a tiny tangle. Okay, so I have anchored this twice. My thread is now on the back. So what I'm going to do is stitch back through to place the thread on the front. I don't want my beads to always be sliding to the back, so I always come through to the front. So now I am going to put 4 of these seed beads onto my beading needle. So what I'm doing is I'm doing this, but what is white here I'm doing in red. So I have my beads on my beading needle and I let them come down. Now you can see if I wanted them flat where I would put my next stitch, but I want this to hump a bit. So I'm going to make my stitch a bit closer than it would be. So mine is about a 1/4 inch. And I'm going to make that stitch just like my original anchor stitch from front to back. And then again, I'm going to stitch. Okay, you know what? This lighting in my studio is not perfect for beading. Okay. So I literally just anchored that, and then again I'm going to come through to the front. And that one isn't as perfect as mine usually is. I'm going to take one gold bead, feed it down, and now I'm going to do the same anchoring process, but it's going to be extremely close to the last stitch. And I'm going to do it a second time again. I really want to make sure that if for some reason there is ever a catch and one of the loops comes open, that there's enough anchoring that all of the beads won't come off lickety-split. So I now have a gold bead right there. So I'm going to feed my thread back to the front again. And one of the things that I find is that by coming back to the front with this thread, you don't actually see the red, even though I have white, well, dirty teacup linen. You're not actually going to end up seeing the thread. So I'm just going to do that one more time. So I've got 4. And a 1/4 inch away. And then I'm going to tack it a second time. And then I pull it tight. And you can see that we've got, I'm going to have to help this one because it's a bit too loose. This one is the perfect tightness. That's what I do all the way around. I used white thread here. And even on the back, you don't really see the thread. I just came to this by trying things out. I'm sure that if a beater, because there are people that can do amazing things, saw this, they'd be shuddering. They might be thinking I should be using invisible thread. It's even harder for me to thread my needle when it's invisible thread. So I find that since you can't see the thread doing it this way, this one I use black thread. And you can't tell. So that is my quickie tutorial on how I do my beading. And that was using Kitty's First Christmas. And that brings us to a moment for music. Today the piece I'm playing is a bit different in style. You're used to having me play flowy little ditties that are from the Romantic period, and that's not where this guy is from. I am hoping that I have the sound level at such a way that you don't get blasted, because it does start forte with accents, so there's more oomph in this particular presentation than you normally see. This is called Introduction and Fugato by C. Harris. Now, my challenge is that I have not been able to completely define who C. Harris is. This particular piece is in a very old Royal Conservatory book, as in it's the conservatory book I did my grade 8 from when I was 10 years old. I thought that perhaps it was simply a pen name from an examiner, but I did some more research and I discovered that there was a C. Harris who was a British vicar who was very skilled with composition. Now, the compositions that are really nailed down to him are all hymns, so I'm not convinced this is the right C. Harris, but it's a possibility because the bottom of the page is there is a British publisher cited. So I don't fully have information to illuminate the situation, but it's possible that that is where the source of this piece comes from. So this piece, the introduction, is a bravado style with lots of leaping. A fugato is in a Baroque style without it actually sounding like it's 300 years old. It's got a main theme that passes through the bottom, the middle, and the top voice, and then sort of breaks into another bravado moment to finish this whole thing up. So I hope you enjoy this presentation of introduction and fugato. And so it is that it's time for us to say goodbye again. It has been such a pleasure to take time with you today. I hope that you might be feeling comfortable to subscribe and like my video. I wish you all well and hope that with floss, needle, and fabric in hand that you can make something and make yourself happy.